your new mentor. Boom, surprise, bitch, it's done. How does it feel?
No, you can't just decide.
Whoa, she's
Come on,
your
guys,
mentor?
lower
No,
decks,
she's not.
lower
Congrats,
decks,
man.
lower decks,
That's cool.
teamwork,
No,
spirit,
no,
community,
go away.
lower decks, lower
No,
decks,
don't
lower
stop.
decks.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Deep Space Pride, a gay Star Trek podcast. I'm Johnson Lee, one of your hosts, and with me is Mike Thurlow. Mike, how are you?
Hey, Johnson. How are you?
Good, good. How was your day today?
It was busy and hot.
Yes, I agree. The AC has not stopped at all.
I do have the AC on today. So, yes, it's that hot here in New York City today. So, but I'm excited because we're talking about Lower Decks Episode 1.
Yes, finally. So
Finally.
everyone knows, today is August 11th, so we've had a few days already to rewatch the first episode of Lower Decks. Mike, how many times did you watch it?
I have watched it a total of 6, I think, so far.
Okay, all right. That's ambitious. I watched it 4 times. I thought that was a lot.
I thought you said 4 to 5. I think you're up to 5.
I think it was like 4 and a
at
half. Like I don't think I finished one of my viewings because I got
Okay.
distracted by something. But
Yeah. I mean, it's
um,
just enjoyable background, and we'll get into it. But
yes. Yes, we will.
we both are enjoying it, and we'll talk about Second Contact in a few minutes.
Mike, what did you Star Trek this week other than Lower Decks?
So I've got 2 things. First, I rewatched, I don't think I've actually finished it, but because it's so long and there are parts where you just want to stop forever. But I'm rewatching The Motion Picture.
Oh my gosh! So I told you yesterday I started to rewatch it, right? Because
Right.
it's been forever since I've
Yeah.
seen it. I totally took a nap in the middle, and then I haven't gone back.
Yeah.
I need to.
Yes. So you and I talked a little bit about the 9-minute beauty shot of the new Enterprise, which, for those of you who don't know, is my favorite Enterprise, aside from the Discovery Enterprise. But my favorite version of the Enterprise is from
The original Enterprise.
of the original. Well, even the A is still the same design, so it's still a really nice ship.
Fine.
So that's my favorite version of Enterprise, aside from Discovery, which looks very similar and also looks amazing. So we talked a little bit about that 9-minute thing, and then apparently you took a nap after that.
I mean, that wasn't the part that, okay, first of all, I had food coma because it was right after dinner, and I always take a nap around like 8 to 9 o'clock p.m. because I usually get my second wind around 10:40, just so everyone knows.
That's very specific.
Yeah, 10:40 is when I get my second wind, and then I work out at like 11:30 or midnight. That's a lot of information. But yeah, watching it at around 8 o'clock, I got very tired. And it's a little slow.
Well, yeah, exactly. I was watching it and I was thinking, man, this is like the longest voyage into V'ger ever.
There's just a lot of, and I've noticed this about a lot of original series plots as well as first and second season TNG. Sometimes there's just like something random. Like they like fall into a wormhole because they couldn't properly engage warp. I was like, what is that? And then that was a whole long sequence. And I was just like, this is completely
right. Yeah. Well, it's a new, it's a new redesign. So the engines were not balanced yet. And Spock needed to come to the rescue. So we have that. But then, the voyage into V'ger is excessively long. And the one thing that I did notice about it this time was that it really, so even though it's a long time frame, it does really accurately depict, like there are a couple of shots where you see the Enterprise and it's so tiny amongst this whole big screen of stuff. So they really did a great job of creating this overwhelmingly the size of V'ger,
the scale,
right? The scale,
right?
The scale of V'ger. So I think they did a nice job with that, but it is long, and so I have not finished it yet because, like you, I didn't go into food coma, but I did get a little distracted. But I have been watching that, so that's been nice. In between watching Lower Decks again and again, just for the heck of it, just because it's funny.
It is. We will talk about that in a minute.
Yeah,
that's our next segment.
But the only other thing that I've Star Trek this week is so today it's Tuesday, right? And David Mack's new Star Trek book that he wrote like 10 years ago finally came out for Star Trek 2009. And I'm going to look at my app really quick because the name is not easily More Beautiful Than Death is the name of it. Okay. Not the original name of it that I've heard him say, I think, at an interview or whatever, but More Beautiful Than Death by David Mack just came out. And so spent a little time this morning listening to some of that. And
is that supposed to be an adventure during their 5-year mission?
No, so this is one of the I'm imagining he was tapped pretty early on after Star Trek 2009 to write this novel. So so it's actually set before the 5-year mission. It's set in between 2009 and Into Darkness, I guess. So the crew is still getting used to one another, that sort of environment, but the one thing, I really do like David Mack. He's good. He's really good. Mm-hmm. The one piece about it that I'm not enjoying, or that I'm realizing, is that there's a lot of character development of a secondary character that plays a role in the story, and so I'm a little thrown off by that. But it's interesting.
A character that you'll never hear or.
Well, I mean, she plays a pretty important role, but we've never met her before. So I know that he kind of has to build up the character somewhat, but it feels excessive to me. But regardless, I'm still listening to it. It's still good. And I've still got plenty of hours left on it. So that's what I've been Star Trekking this week, besides Lower Decks. So what about you? What have you Star Trekked this week?
So yeah, other than Lower Decks, also a motion picture. I think I'm only 25 minutes in or 30 minutes in. They just got out of the wormhole and Spock just joined the crew. So they're not even at V'ger yet. That's not quite. We're not quite.
Right. You're not.
I'm trying to think what else I've Star Trek this week. At least since the last time we recorded, I watched the DS9 documentary, which we talked about a little bit. Finally, What We Left Behind.
Right.
Excellent. It was so good. There was a little bit, I did notice that it is a little bit all over the place. Like there's no kind of like narrative through line. Like most documentaries, there's some sort of like story arc or something like that are following. Here it's just like anecdotes. Like there's like, I don't know how well you remember it, but there is this whole thing where the writers they're kind of brainstorming what a season 8
would be. Yeah.
So there is a little bit of that peppered throughout the whole documentary, but that doesn't really tie things together that well in any sort of way. So there is that. However, I really enjoyed it. It was great. There were some like funny moments, some awkward moments, things like that. But yeah. I mean, like, for example, like there was this one moment where Terry Farrell is talking about how she left before season 7 and she gets really upset and everyone's kind of sitting there. And I'm like, oh, it seems really awkward. Like, like obviously it's not good, whatever happened to her. And, it became kind of like he said, she said kind of thing. But it was like there were like 7, 8 other people sitting there and you could just kind of feel that it was kind of awkward. And I'm not pronouncing her name correctly. I think Nicole DeBoer or something, who plays Esri.
Right.
She's like right next to Terry Farrell. I'm like,
oh, wow, yeah.
Ooh, it's like maybe a little awkward. It's like, sorry, I got fired, but I got a job. Like, so anyway, there are a few moments like that, but overall,
yeah,
I really enjoyed it. So
It's a great documentary. I think I supported it on Kickstarter when it first came out, so I got an early preview of it and enjoyed it. And but I haven't watched it since then. And then, I do vaguely recall some awkward moments. I mean, for the most part, the cast and crew did really get along. I think there was some, it's pretty well known that Avery Brooks was a very serious actor and kind of kept the tone on the set very serious. So, you see, and actually StarTrek.com just released a blooper reel for, I think, season 3 of Next Generation. And, I don't imagine that those sorts of things exist for Deep Space Nine, just by the very nature of the way Avery kind of ran as the number one on the call sheet. Right. He was, responsible for setting the tone. So, although there are some stories too about, Patrick Stewart being really serious and, as a Shakespearean actor, but clearly, as we've seen through the panels and stuff, he's loosened up. And and that crew is also really still very close, and they still get together on Zoom pretty, I would say they almost do it monthly. They stay in pretty good touch with one another. So
I see the occasional update on Instagram where they got together for like Marina Sirtis' birthday and things like that.
Right, things like that. So so they, but this cast is definitely different. Also, this cast is so much more expansive, right?
So big. It's like a big cast. And there's a lot of secondary characters that become really important.
Right. So it's quite a big crew to kind of build that camaraderie. But I mean, I've shared with you, and I think I shared in when we talked about Far Beyond the Stars. I talked a lot about how I loved Terry Farrell, and I was really, really like Jadzia's death is a very horrible moment for me. And Ezri did Ezri came in, and I was never really a fan of Ezri because I was such a big Jadzia fan. So
and she only had like a season, so it was like hard to really invest in the character.
Right.
I mean, she did a fine job considering what she was given.
Right.
But it's a little hard to kind of come in, especially when everyone has gotten used to a character and now, last season, new character. Kind of new, but not really,
Yeah. So. But I did enjoy the 8th season. I guess I missed the part where they said, because it's not set the next year, like it's set further in the future because Kira is a Vedic at this point.
You're talking about season 8?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, it's supposed to be like 20 years after.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. That was something I missed probably at the beginning of it, and it just kept on bothering me and didn't make sense. And I just must.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Picard is basically. There's the time displacement is the same in real life as in story. They did the same thing for season 8, quote unquote.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So, but it's a good, everyone should check it out.
Yes.
If you're a DS9 fan, it's a must for sure. But
it's on Amazon Prime or IMDb TV or whatever.
Yeah.
So
what else did you do? Yeah.
So there's that. I'm still reading The Return by William Shatner. It's going slowly. I don't have much time to read, but I'm still liking it. It's a little distracting because obviously we've veered so far from that time period / narrative, but I'm keeping an open
and that's
mind.
book 2, right? That was the second book,
right? So Ashes of Eden was the first book, and then The Return.
Yeah.
So Ashes of Eden happened right before he disappeared into the Nexus on the Enterprise B, and then this one happens right after Generations. Right. So it picks up right after Generations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. All right.
So yeah, I think that is most of it. I start to rewatch the original series as well.
How's that going?
Slow. It's slow. It's like homework, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
I've only seen I've mentioned this before, but for our listeners, I need to get my Star Trek fan card taken away, but I haven't watched every single episode of the original series. I've only seen half of the episodes, And that was when they used to have these Star Trek marathons, like back in the day.
Yeah.
And you know how they would have like Twilight Zone marathons and Star Trek. It was like one of those things. So I've definitely seen a good handful of episodes. But for example, I've never seen The Man Trap. So I just rewatched it. I watched it rather for the first time a week ago. And I mentioned this to you. It's just a little bit disconcerting because like how old is this episode? And the cultural context around the episode is so different. Like you have women serving men food because I guess they have to. It's just really awkward.
Right.
Or just random comments here and there that just seem very dated. It's a little bit off-putting, but obviously need to watch it through a specific cultural lens.
Right.
So I will watch every single TOS episode. I can't promise about the animated series, but I will watch every TOS episode I'm giving myself until the end of the year.
Well, that's funny that you mentioned the animated series because there are definite tones in Lower Decks that is reminiscent of the animated series, the opening music and theme.
Oh, interesting.
So I actually, before we recorded, I went back and just watched the opening for the animated series just to see if I was right. And yeah, so the music and the way that the first couple of Star Trek notes kind of come up is very reminiscent of the animated series. Well, so we've both been busy in the Star Trek world, and we keep on bringing it up, but I think we should dive right in and start talking about Lower Deck.
So why don't we get into Spoon the Trek? And in this case, it's going to be about the episode Second Contact.
Ooh, take off your pants.
Mariner.
Yeah, Mike, what did you think?
So I'm enjoying it. Obviously, we mentioned at the top of the show, I've watched it like 6 times already. It's just funny. It's overall, it's just a great show. And I've been thinking a lot about this because I know that there's mixed reviews out in the world, but I am really enjoying it. And I think here's the perspective that I think would help a lot of people if they watched it through. So this is not Next Generation. This is like if you were going to your first job at a company, this is what life is like. So imagine that Starfleet is your company and you are going to work for Starfleet. This is exactly what your life. It's not like Next Generation. It's like how a first job would be. And then that's what I'm really enjoying about it, is because you're getting to see characters at the beginning of their career. And if you watch it through their eyes, and especially when they interact with the command crew. So there's been a lot of, discussion about the command crew and everything, and why this story is sort of structured the way it is. But it's exactly like you would look at your boss or your boss's boss or the higher ups or the CEO. It's exactly like that. Like if you go and meet them, you're like freaking out. I love the scene where Boimler comes onto the bridge and he's like, everything's muffled because he's like, I'm here. Why am I here? Who wants me? So I just think that a lot of it is reminiscent of, if you looked at it from the perspective of being new on the job. And granted, as and why I am still learning their names, even though I've watched it 6 times. Mariner. I keep on forgetting.
Okay.
I keep on forgetting her name, and I really like her because I think she's savvy. She's, obviously we learn at the end of the episode who she really is. But I just think that she's kind of like the Kirk, the young Kirk, the rogue, the one who does all the things, and gets into trouble. But it's, there's always one of those in your office set up, kind of like someone who likes to spark trouble, or doesn't like to follow the rules or things like that. So, but the characters are great. you and I have texted about the screaming is awesome. You
There's so
know?
much. It's very Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Like Rick and Morty kind of Family Guy, kind of like there's a lot of
Yeah.
panic and
Yeah.
screaming, which is totally me.
Yeah.
I would totally be Boimler.
Yeah, but what
Like,
were your early? Yeah, we talked a little bit about this. I'm probably more like Mariner. You're more like Boimler.
yeah, I'm all about the rules.
Yep.
I love
So,
rules.
what did you think of it? What are your kind of overall impressions of it?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed it. You know, I kind of went in, I enjoyed the trailer when it was first released, and I also enjoyed the teaser when it was released. And, you know, I didn't go in with super high expectations. I kind of just tried to moderate my expectations going in. But that being said, I really enjoyed it. I liked the pace a lot. I definitely thought that it was, considering that it's a 25-minute episode, they cram so much in. Not only do you get introduced to a new crew, you get there are three storylines. There's the virus on the ship, there's Rutherford and his date, and then there's what's going on the planet. And they just cram, so it's incredible how much they cram in, considering how much time there is. And I think that speaks to just the overall pace, even the way that people talk on the show. It's very fast paced. It's bang, 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 in terms of the back and forth, the banter. It's just really quick. I do think that's one thing, and I'm actually okay with this. I've heard some people complain about where there's not much room to breathe and let scenes breathe. I do think that is the kind of comedy that they're going for, where that is very Rick and Morty, where you're just bombarded. And I'm actually okay with that because sometimes I get a little bit ADD. Perfect example was motion picture, where it's probably a little bit too deliberate and it's a little bit too slow. And I'm like, something needs to happen right now. Otherwise my attention's going to go somewhere else. Here, I wasn't even tempted to look at my phone or text anyone. And, I wasn't even tempted to do that because it was just going so fast. I was thoroughly entertained. So yeah, I personally thought it was really great. I do think I would like to see a little bit more from the senior staff, because and I mentioned this to you, I do think that they're being presented as a little bit narcissistic right now. And obviously that is somewhat through the lens of these junior officers. But at the same time, even Boimler's meeting with the captain, and, she basically wants him to spy a Mariner, things like that. It's a little bit weird. So I'm hoping that there was more development when it comes to the senior staff, and we actually see that they're competent and not just bumbling fools. That being said, I do think that they do, even if they don't, I'm actually okay with that, because they're supposed to be a foil to these ensigns. And, the show is about the ensigns, not about the senior staff. So I'm actually okay with it. I do think that, and, it's been a few days since the episode came out, so there's already been a lot of reactions online. And I think that, and this goes back to this whole toxic fandom kind of thing that we've talked about a little bit here and there, where people are just kind of hating on it because it's not the Star Trek that they know and love. It is a little bit different, and it's a different interpretation, and obviously it has its own personality and spin. And, I've seen reactions where people are like, there's no way that this is Star Trek because the senior staff would never act this way. And I did hear some people complain about short treks. And do you remember the episode of The Trouble with Edward, where it's this guy Edward is very awkward, yeah. And I don't remember the name of the woman who played the captain, but she was also on Alita Battle Angel. I don't remember her name.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't remember her. I mean, it's H. John Benjamin who plays Edward in that episode. But
and then, there's this whole scene where he's talking to Edward is talking to Rosa Salazar. Sorry, Rosa Salazar plays the Captain Lucero. And there's this whole scene where she's like, yeah, someone filed a complaint, to Starfleet about me. And he's like, who would do that? And there's basically this banter between them. And she's like, you're out, you know? And he's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, and she's like, yes, you are. I'm saying you're out. So you're out. I don't know if you remember the episode.
I do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But
Yep.
people are like, Captain Picard would never do that. That's not the proper way to give constructive feedback or give criticism to someone. I'm like, oh my God, people, it's a comedy. It's just like, you know, like just let it be what it for, you know, let's accept it for what it is and try to enjoy it. And not every captain needs to be like Captain Picard, you know?
Right, exactly.
So
not every leader is the same. You know, and also we have to remember that the Enterprise was a flagship. It got the best of the best. And I'm sure if we went into the Navy in present day, you know, there's flagships or lead ships that are the best of the best. And then there are these other ships where, you know, it's, you know, they run fine. It's just people have different styles. And, you know, I think, you know, getting back to Captain Freeman, I think she's tough. I think she's, but she has a good rapport with her senior staff. And of course, I mean, you know, of course, they're not going to have a great rapport with the ensigns because they're not part of the senior staff. They're kind of, you know, they're ensigns. So I do think it's definitely different, but and to some extent, you know, I mean, the first officer should have gone and gotten it checked out. Like, it's stupid, you know, just stupid mistakes like that. But I'm like tougher than a bug bite, that sort of thing. You know, because even the other guy, I don't even know that his name, said, you know, you should get that checked out, and he's like, no, I'm fine. You know, so you know, which is real life. Like, I can see that happening. You know, granted, well, obviously had very unreal life like consequences, but yeah, I think, you know, this is just, you know, I think it's all a matter of perspective. And I don't think that they appear to be inept from an ensign standpoint, because also the fact is that, you know, Boimler did save the ship. I mean, he was covered in this, and so did Mariner, for that matter. I mean, she let him be suckled, and so, you know, for so long by that spider, and it ended up saving the ship. But you know, it's not a perfect. This is not a perfect rendition. This is of, you know, Starfleet life. I mean, gosh, how boring would that be if everything were so rigid? And I mean,
know,
as someone who likes rules yourself, I mean, there are times and places to break rules and to kind of chill out. And so I think that, you know, I think it's just an average ship. I don't think it's, you know, yeah, I mean, it's not the best of the best. They're doing second contact. It is what it is. You know, maybe we'll see some more ineptitude. But again, I think that going into it looking like this is supposed to be a next generation clone is not the way to look at it at all. And
yeah, and you know, I'm definitely in the mindset where I'm just trying to enjoy it for what they're trying to be. And that being said, I loved all the next generation callbacks, you know, from the font usage to the, you know, the intro, which is more, and we talked about this a little bit offline, but the more traditional flyby with a twist.
Yep.
You know, like
it's like
those,
Voyager, except
yes.
We crash into things. And
right. Yeah.
You know, there's a great call out in that intro too, with the Romulans being attacked by Borg, which kind of ties into Picard, right?
Yeah, I'm like,
so
is that real, or is that just kind of like, you know, something for an intro? Like, I'm interested.
Yeah.
But it was great even though it was animated form, to see the Deradex ships. You know, it's been a while since we've seen those Romulan ships.
Yeah, right.
But and then all just like random call outs in the episode. Like, I got really excited when he mentioned cetacean ops. I'm like, are we actually going to see dolphins on the ship? That'll be really exciting.
Mike McMahon has said that we will not see cetacean ops this year, but maybe.
That's not this season.
Maybe in season 2.
Look at the L-Cars interface everywhere.
Yeah.
That was great because I feel it's been a while since we've gotten that so front and center. So yeah, there were just a lot of like small things like that were just good to see. Ensign Barnes, I was like, oh, she's a Trill, but her spots were a little blotchy. I was like, is she a Trill? But she is a Trill.
Yeah.
Like even all the random aliens. I do wish that the main cast was a little more diverse in terms of species. I do like that Mariner is a Black woman. I do like that we have an Orion as one of the main characters because that rarely happens. Like I think the only other Orion Starfleet officer that we've seen is in the 2009 Star Trek.
Yeah, Kayla or something like.
Yeah, Ahora's roommate.
Yeah.
But other than that, we haven't really seen that many Orions as Starfleet officers, so that's nice.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously animation allows them to do a lot more in terms of highlighting different species and being a little more, adventurous that way.
Well, I mean, behind Ensign Tiana was Ben Zeit, right?
Yes, when she was coming aboard the ship.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've seen the Ben Zeit.
Yeah, and also, a couple of times, and I was like, why are so many? There were like 2 or 3 times where you saw someone wearing a visor. Geordie's. Oh
yeah, there were at least 2 officers wearing visors.
Yeah,
I'm like, shouldn't have upgraded to like the eye implants.
Right, exactly. That was my thought too. But I thought that was a nice callback. There were a lot of little things like that. But I'm also really excited about this crew from I hope we get to see some additional like novels or comics, and hopefully someday I would love to see what they're doing during Picard's time frame, because I can see the 4 of them becoming a really tight-knit crew and hopefully going on to further adventures as they grow older.
That would be interesting if there was like some sort of cameo in Picard season 2 or something.
Yeah, I mean, Mariner has promised to help Boimler get his captain's chair, but I could see the 4 of them being the bridge crew, so on their own ship someday. So we're really seeing the formation of a future crew. Which is really kind of fun and exciting. You kind of get to see them at the beginning, and maybe eventually someday we'll get to see them in the future, or the present of Picard, or that sort of thing. So that was really exciting. And
I do think that, to what you're saying, and this goes back to personally what I think is the strength of the episode, is that you get a gist of who each of these characters are in such a short span of time.
Yes.
And you kind of just get, a little bit of the backgrounds, you get a little bit of their personalities, and they become like real people very quickly.
I agree.
Given how much they squeeze in. And I do think that this is definitely one of the stronger series pilots that we've gotten from Star Trek, where I think he's very confident in terms of the tone, what they're going for, the pacing. They kind of just know what they want. Yes. And usually that takes a little bit. I feel it takes a little bit longer for these new shows to get their footing. But I do think that it is one of the stronger series premieres that we've gotten.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think it comes down to feeling attached to the crew already. Even the senior staff, which are you get to know the least, but I think there's definitely really good world building, really good character building here, and I'm excited to see obviously we got a trailer of things to come, which are some exciting scenes, things that we haven't seen before, maybe even a callback to the Next Generation premiere episode.
Oh, perhaps. Yeah, I was very excited about that.
So that's kind of cool. Klingons are going to show up, but it's a lot of it, you see, Mariner really taking charge, and I'm glad that she's kind of the lead in all of this, and she's got a lot of spunk, a lot of energy, and just really, just I like her a lot. I like them all. There's not. I really find it hard to find anything wrong with this premiere episode, other than it's only 25 plus minutes. I mean, I get it. Animation's a lot of work, but gosh, I wanted more.
Yeah, I'm excited that there's 9 more episodes because they just squeeze, like I said, they squeeze so much into this one.
Yeah.
So I did read some previews because some editors got 4 episodes to watch, and they said
okay.
that episodes 2 and 4 are really good. So
Okay.
I'm excited
Great.
to see what that looks like.
I mean, if they're strong or stronger than episode 1, I think we're gonna have a really great show, and they've already been renewed for season 2, which is awesome, and hopefully we'll get to see more of them beyond that. So, but I'm excited. It's going to be a great next 9 weeks where even 30 minutes of new Trek that we can watch over and over.
I know. I will take it.
Yeah, exactly. So, really exciting stuff, and I'm excited to see more and see how we build out this part of the Star Trek universe.
Yeah. So how would you rate this episode out of 10?
I mean, watching it 9 or six times. I mean, I think I'm enjoying this pretty well. I think it's a good solid 9.5 for sure. It's probably not perfect, but it's for a premiere, it's as close to perfect as I can imagine. And I've watched it enough times and caught different things here and there, and I've never thought once that there was they should have done this or they shouldn't have done that. Like, didn't think that at all. I just enjoyed it thoroughly. What about you?
Yeah, no, I would give it a 9. I was kind of vacillating between an 8.5 and a 9, but I think I would give it a 9 because, yeah, like just the fact that I never watch an episode like 4 or 5 times. Like I just think it's so easy to watch. It's enjoyable. There's a lot packed in. They do a lot with it, given the time limitations. So yeah, no, I'll give it a 9. It's great.
Awesome. Great. Well, there we go. We've spilled the Trek on episode 1 of Star Trek Lower Decks, Second Contact. Let us know what you all think. You can email us at deepspacepride@gmail.com, or they can find us on socials, right?
Yeah, we're on Twitter and Instagram at deepspacepride. Pretty simple. So you guys can reach out to us, comment on our posts. Once we have posts, DM us, and we will try to respond. So why don't we move on into off topic? So yeah, Mike, other than Star Trek, what else have you been watching, reading this week?
I mean, the only thing that really comes to mind is the Umbrella Academy season 2, which was very good. Hoping that there's going to be a season 3.
Yeah, they haven't announced a renewal yet, but I'm pretty sure they will.
Yeah, I think it's a strong show for Netflix, and this season was really strong. A lot of great issues brought up, a lot of confusing things. We watched this season finale last night. Actually, we watched 8, 9, and 10 last night.
Oh wow! Did Dennis like it?
Yeah, Dennis liked it. And somewhere in episode 8, there was a part where I won't get into it for spoilers, but I was like, okay, can we just move this forward? Like there was like about, I don't know, probably not this long, but 2 to 3 minutes of just nonsense. And, and I was just like, come on, let's just mainly because I wanted, it was a point in the plot where it just they weren't moving through it fast enough. And I'm like, I don't need to see this, beating the crap out of each other for this long. But I don't want to give it away because I know you're still in the midst of it. But so that's pretty much all I've really watched. I mean, I was away this weekend, so I didn't watch any TV really. My nephews and niece apparently love SpongeBob.
SpongeBob. Yes.
So I did catch a few of those episodes in the background, and I still do not understand it, but that's okay. It is not made for me.
You're not the demographic.
I am not the demographic,
No.
but so that's pretty much all. I did not watch that. I'm as far as audiobooks go, before the new Star Trek book dropped, I'm almost finished with The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis.
Oh, throwback.
Yeah, I mean, it was a daily deal for Audible for $2.99. I don't think I've ever listened to or read those books in order that they were meant to be.
Is it read by C.S. Lewis?
It is not. No.
That's too bad.
So, and it's a little bit harder to follow, and I do listen to an accelerated speed to get through it. But so I've been listening to that, and prior to that, I listened to this really great audiobook, Doing Time, which is also really good about time travel. So, so that was also really enjoyable. And there's a second one coming out in I think in October. So and I've also listened to Dr. Aphra, which is also really well done. That's a Star Wars tie-in.
Oh,
so so that's pretty much my
you're juggling a lot of audiobooks.
No, I've listened. I mean, those are completed audiobooks. So I kind of did Dr. Aphra. I did Doing Time. I'm in the Magician's Nephew, but then the new Star Trek book came out today, so I jumped into listening to that. I do need to go back and finish Magician's Nephew, but I'm not as invested as I would be listening to Star Trek. So
yeah.
So I'm enjoying some of those things. What about you? What kind of off topic things, other sci-fi or other things that you're reading or listening to or watching?
Yeah, so I am also going through Umbrella Academy. I am halfway done. I'm like on episode 7, halfway through 7, I think. It's good. I think I like the first season more because it was a little more original. Obviously, it was novel, so it's bright, new, and shiny. So I liked season 1. Season 2 is also very good. I do not enjoy some of the interpersonal drama, and I don't like certain characters. I don't like Vanya. I don't like Klaus. I find them both very annoying characters. I
do. I'm with you on Vanya. Klaus has grown on me, and I think Klaus, as you move forward and finish the season, I'm hoping maybe you'll feel the same way, that especially with Ben and Klaus, like that whole relationship is really really quite interesting, and I do like Ben a lot, and there's something pretty cool and funny, a couple of cool and funny things with them coming up.
I do like Ben as a character. He is intricately tied to Klaus, so there's no way to separate the two. But I think Klaus, like he just has so much baggage, and obviously I understand that he has a lot of baggage, so he's a complex character, but sometimes he just is annoying. I mean, I just because I'm very much the type to just be like, get your shit together, bleep, get your shit together,
right?
And he's too burdened by his feelings and his baggage, and obviously seeing dead people, like all those things, right? And Vanya, I'm just kind of like, make good decisions, woman, please. And the world is at stake as usual. Not a spoiler because that's always what's at stake. And I'm just like, suck it up, just move past your feelings and do what you need to do to save the world. I just don't understand, like, sometimes these, the stakes. And this happens a lot in, some of these shows or movies where the world's at stake, but then somehow they make a decision because, they base it on feelings. And it's like, it basically dooms everyone because you're selfish. and you can't get past your feelings and things like that kind of narrative and character decision making just drives me crazy. So
Well, and I'm gonna venture a guess that it probably drives you crazy because we are living in the times that we live in. I think that's exactly like we could cut out exactly what you just said and just play it for someone, and people would think that you're talking about right now and this timeline in this world that we're living in. So,
I mean that totally doesn't help,
yeah, but I think
sure.
it takes you out of the moment. Like the whole idea behind television is escape, right? It's some form of escapism, and if you're seeing things crop up that remind you of current situations and current life, then it brings you out of it and you get annoyed. So I can totally understand that.
Yeah. So
What
anyway,
else?
yeah,
What
I still have
else?
3.5 episodes to go.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll report back next week, and we'll see where things take us. But yeah, so that's Umbrella Academy. What else have you seen? I think that's mostly it. Actually, I've been playing some video games here and there, but nothing serious. I watched the Downton Abbey movie. That's not relevant to this podcast, but I enjoyed it. Hey,
Did you? Okay,
yes.
I've not watched it. I watched season 1 and season 2 of that.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Downton fan.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Yeah.
I'm like a semi, like I wouldn't say I'm a hardcore Anglophile, but I do like some programming like that. Like
Okay.
Downton Abbey, The Crown. Few of those things. Hey, you watch Doctor Who? Like that's
Right. No, I'm an Anglophile for sure. I have
Yeah.
been for a long time. I mean, so yeah. I mean, I grew up watching a lot of British comedies on PBS, and yeah, I'm
never
an
got into
Anglophile.
British comedy. I think that is one subgenre I've never gotten into.
That is a genre all its own. But I definitely grew up not only watching Doctor Who but also British comedies. So, but Downton Abbey, I think the part of the problem too is and this is back a ways, but life kind of gets in the way. Like when you watch the end of a season,
Mm-hmm.
and now I mean, even more so when it first came out, you had to wait a year or a year and a half for the next season. And by that time, you've moved on to other things, and you have to prioritize what you're watching. And like, if you're not like dying to know what happened to the characters, like if you're not as invested in them, then, you don't really you don't always go back to them, so yeah, I think that's the real challenge. But I enjoyed the first 2 seasons of Downton Abbey, but I never really, there's some good characters. I mean, but this is not a podcast about Downton Abbey.
No,
so
it is
we
not.
should move on.
We are in
but
off topic though, so
we
it's
are.
okay.
Yes,
Yeah, we don't have to
so.
get into. I wasn't trying to start a whole conversation about that.
No, but I think the Anglophile thing really ticked my box because I do really like a lot of British shows. But Downton Abbey, well, Sherlock is another one that I've really enjoyed.
Oh yeah,
well.
Sherlock's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything else? So watch the Down movie. I don't
No, so I need to watch. Yeah, I need to finish. My main priority at the moment is to finish Umbrella Academy.
Right.
And my viewing of the motion picture.
Yes.
So those are my priorities. And then The Boys season 2 is around the corner. Not around the corner. It's like in 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
So that's exciting.
Yeah, let's not rush. We're not ready for September quite yet.
September is going to be here before you know it.
I know, but I don't want to, that's still 3 weeks. We still got some good time. I mean.
And then I just, and actually 2 other shows I really want to see. I know I haven't seen them yet, but I did see the trailer for Raised by Wolves, which is a new HBO Max show.
Okay.
Ridley Scott. It looks fantastic. I suggest you check it out. It looks really, really interesting. Heavy sci-fi, like very sci-fi, AI, aliens influence.
Great.
You should definitely check it out. Raised by Wolves. And Away, which is the new Hilary Swank miniseries that's going to be premiering on Netflix. Actually, both Raised by Wolves and I believe Away are going to be premiering September 4th, also around the corner. And Away, I think it's a limited series, 8 to 10 episodes. Hilary Swank is an astronaut, and she and her crew are going to be the first manned mission to Mars. So it's about the drama that follows like a 2-3 year mission away from their families. And
Yeah. All right. That's good.
so that should also go on your list. So yeah, Away is going to be on Netflix.
Okay.
Raised by Wolves is going to be on
HBO.
HBO Max, and The Boys is on Amazon Prime. I think they're all coming out in the same week or two. So
Probably, yeah.
there's a lot.
And we'll still have new Star Trek.
Yes. So
to be.
I'm excited. There's a lot going on for the next couple of months.
Yeah.
So
well, it will get us through to the end of the year, hopefully.
If we survive.
Really, I mean, after all these shows launch, I mean, we're gonna have a pretty large gap of no new shows, just based on production not being able to go. So
2021's looking bleak, but we'll see.
And actually, I think we're I'm and some of the other podcasts I listen to, Mandalorian season 2 should be coming out this fall. October, November timeframe. So that'll be good. So yeah, I don't know what we're going to watch in 2021 if the world is still here in 2021, but
I have no idea. We'll have to see.
So yeah, well, great. So that was a pretty good discussion of our off topic. Shall we wrap it up with a counselor?
Yeah. So why don't we go into Dishing with Deanna, which is when we talk a little bit about what's going on in our personal lives.
I am the goddess of empathy.
So Johnson, dating life update. You had a date this past weekend.
Yeah, so I had a date on Saturday, and it was with this guy I was speaking to on Hinge. So we were talking for about a week before we met up. And I mean, like, it was promising when we were talking over Hinge. Obviously, these apps are imperfect, and these conversations that you have, they're always a little bit stiff. I think the one thing that I always struggle with is maintaining the conversation, and you really need to put in the effort to keep the conversation going, because it's imperfect. Like, not only have you never met each other or talked in real life, you need to communicate your personality through text, which is very difficult to capture. You can use like emojis or whatever, but you don't want to go overboard. Don't like scare them off,
Right.
It's just, I think that was leading up to the date. That was the hardest part. I'm like, oh, what are we talking about now? There's only like so much you want to go. Like, you don't want to go too deep into very specific conversations because you want to leave room for the date. You want to talk about your background, your job, family stuff. Like, you touch on that stuff over text, but then you want to save that juicy stuff for the date, So yeah, we were talking a little bit. Like, we had some things in common. He's a gamer, so we talked a little bit about that. And then we met up in real life, and I just don't think we both immediately felt that there wasn't chemistry. We actually had a 2-hour date. We had coffee and we just chatted for a while. We actually covered a range of topics, from family to what we do. We didn't spend too much time talking about work because we didn't want to, but we talked about, a little bit about our coming out experiences, what we're into, hobbies and things like that. I just don't think we really resonated. We weren't really on the same page. He was kind of serious. And I don't know if that's just his personality or, what it is. I tried to keep things light, but he just felt very serious. And I just think, we weren't really, we didn't really make that connection.
Yeah.
So it was pretty, it felt long, but it didn't feel like, I've been on worse dates where an hour seems like 5 hours. So it wasn't that bad. But by the end, we both knew it was over. It was one of those things. So
okay.
And it wasn't like a waste of time. I was in the Union Square area, Manhattan, so I got to go to Petco and get some fish for my aquarium. So
there you go.
Yeah, no, It was great. And then I met up with some friends afterwards, and we had lunch and played games. So
Awesome.
Yeah, it was good.
So yeah, great.
But yeah, so that was my date on Saturday. Yeah, I think that like dating in this day and age is just it's really hard to nail down. I think it's you can have all these like common interests, but then once you meet in person, it's like if it's off, it's off. And
Yeah.
it's like, all right, well, I'm stuck here for at least an hour.
Right.
Make the best of it.
Yeah.
That's all I can do.
I mean, chemistry is really important, obviously, and
Yeah.
You really can't create that through text or, even video, really, to some extent. I don't.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, you just got to kind of see how your two vibes come together or don't. So, well, there are, as our group text shared, there are plenty more fish in the sea.
Literally. Yeah.
It sounds like it was a good approach and you were hopeful, but again, things you can't predict our chemistry. So
it's always good practice. It's like,
right.
Going in interviews or something like that, always good practice. Just keep on doing it over and over.
Good.
So
well, cool.
What about you? Yeah, how are things with Dennis?
Things are good. He worked this past weekend, so I went away to see my family. So I hadn't seen my family since Christmas, which is 8 months or so. So it was really good. I did all the I did a COVID test before I left. I'm pretty aware of how I'm feeling as far as health wise. So I did all the things, and it was great. Took the Amtrak up to Massachusetts from New York, and it was a really good weekend. Time with my niece and nephews, time with my parents, time with my sister and brother-in-law. So it's just, and also I get to see and spend time with, had dinner with one of my oldest friends. I've known him for 16 years. And
great. Oh, wow. 16.
So we had dinner out on his back deck and with his roommates, and it was a really good time, and it was nice to reconnect, and it just felt great to be back up there and relaxing outdoors, much more outdoors than we are here in the city. A lot more green.
I mean, you and Dennis have a backyard, so
we do have a backyard, yes. But to describe it more effectively, it is a patio. It is not really a backyard. My brother and my brother-in-law and sister have a backyard.
It's a backyard.
Yeah, where there's grass, there's a swimming pool, so that's a real backyard. But yes, we do have a patio, so we do have some space to get outside of the apartment, which is great. But it is not necessarily immersing ourselves in nature per se. Right. Although we do have, a couple of trees and plants and things like that. But
your rose bush.
We have a rose bush, which Dennis is very excited about.
Very excited. I saw him post about it.
Yes, so he's very excited about that. Actually, I took some shots too, which I did not post, but I went out after the hurricane came through or whatever it was, tropical storm at that point. There was, as the first wave of the storm passed, the sun came out. All the leaves had some water on them. There were, some of the flowers had bloomed. So took some really cool, like up close portrait shots of the flowers. So it was pretty cool. So we do have that outdoor space, which is nice, but we're doing good. And Dennis had to work all weekend, unfortunately, and he was super exhausted, but we had some time apart, but it's good to be home. And even though I had a great time with my family, I am always grateful to come back home and have my own
No,
space.
he mentioned that it felt weird because I saw him this past weekend when you were gone.
Right.
And he said that it felt a little weird just being alone.
Yeah.
Even though it was only for a couple of days.
Yeah.
He's just used to you.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah. And I mean I missed sleeping next to him. I missed sleeping in a bed. I slept on a couch for the
Mhm.
weekend. So which is totally fine. I don't mind at all. For a couple of nights just to see my family. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's good to be back. Although the heat is
It's hot. It's
ridiculous.
gross. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not going to complain about the heat because we get plenty of winter around here.
That's true.
And
Yeah, it gets so bitterly cold.
yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to complain about the heat for too long. Fortunately, we have AC as needed. So
That's right.
yep.
Yep.
So yeah, things are good, and yeah, so it was a good week. So life is good.
Cool. And
Yeah.
we have another new episode of Lower Decks in 2 days. So, hey.
Right. Yeah. And then we'll be back here talking about that. And I want to say it's called Envoys. I really haven't looked into the episode titles too closely, or, I one of the things I do avoid spoilers. And,
Oh, same.
I know they throw up some images somewhere. I've not seen them.
Well, you watched this season on Lower Decks. So.
Yeah. So it's just that. Yeah. So yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, we have a birthday party tomorrow night at our place.
And I will be there.
You will be there. So
It is called Envoys. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So yeah. So and then after that party, I'll wake up and we'll have new Lower Decks to watch.
Yay.
So that'll be great. And we'll be back here next week talking about Lower Decks episode 2 Envoys. So
yeah, so very excited for that.
Yeah. I think that's everything for me. Do you have anything else to?
No, I think that's it. We will be back here very soon. And in the meantime, as Mike said earlier, we'd love to hear from you. If you guys have any comments, questions, feedback, you can reach us through email and through social media. Otherwise, we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Deep Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Coconut.